Good morning, traders. Today is Tuesday, August 23rd. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Okay, well, let's just start today by looking at the overnight inventory. The overnight inventory is net long. It opened down here, and it looks like it's going to close right around this area that we're at right here, near that prominent POC from the overnight. And the overnight trade was rotational all in all. But there is something to be noted in the fact that they barely pulled back at all, which is that last night their overnight inventory was 100% net long. Okay, they came into the day. Our market pushed higher, leaving tons of excess below, including a gap, right? And then the overnight market didn't need to pull back at all from their opening price. They just pushed higher straight away. So that is a sign that the momentum buyers are back in control of the market, right? The short-term momentum buyers are confidently pushing the market higher and higher and higher. And then the rotation that you got that created this sort of bell-shaped curve that you have here, that was taking profits. Okay, so that was the traders that went long there taking profits. So to me, that's bullish that they didn't need to pull back down into here because those momentum buyers are in charge. Now, let's add to that the fact that the last 3 days in a row have been P-shaped profiles. Okay, you can see the P here, right? 1, 2, and then this one's not as clean, but also 3. Okay, so we had 3 P-shaped profiles in a row. What does a P-shaped profile tell us? It tells us that there's more short covering than new money buying. So we clearly know the momentum traders, the buy every dip crowd, is in control of the market, but that a large portion of the momentum that has pushed us higher is just short covering of people who went short in here expecting a massive pullback. Okay, so that's to be noted. There's a lot of excess that's been created, and excess requires balance. Okay, when the market goes straight up, it has to balance that off. One way you can do it is with price, which means the price pulls back down, finds support, and then it can trade higher once again. And then the other way is it can balance with time, which means it can just push higher and then balance around at a higher level long enough to gain the momentum to push higher and break out above. We haven't had either of these yet. For the last 3 days, we've been creating excess to the upside, and we've had no balance. Balance does lead to excess. Okay, so that doesn't mean we can't have another day where the market just trades higher all day. It can happen, but the probabilities are getting lower and lower. Or I should say the probabilities are getting higher and higher that we need to balance this off somehow. Okay, so today we're going to open inside the previous day's range and inside the previous day's value area. Doing so increases the odds that there's just going to be chop in the beginning of the day. So I'm not necessarily going to be looking for any trades first thing in the morning, but rather just waiting to see how the market handles things. Okay, pushing above yesterday's high, as always, pushing above yesterday's high, coming back down and finding support. This prominent POC from overnight could definitely act as solid support, as well as the upper end of the node of volume where we spent a majority of the volume yesterday, right? This area in here should act as support. If I find that that is happening, that is a good long trade for continuation higher. However, if we push above and then pull back in, so say we push above yesterday's high, pull back in, don't find support, that to me is a look above and fail of the previous day's range, which increases the odds of a rotation to the opposite end of the range. Okay, what do we have at the opposite end of yesterday's range? A ton of excess, right? We have these single prints from the B period that still need to be backfilled. We have this massive bit of excess with a gap and then the A period single prints as well. Okay, so there's a lot of excess down here that needs to be balanced off. So if we get a look above and fail of previous day's range, that seems like a pretty good short to be to come down here at the very least to the base of these single prints at 44.67. Okay. If the market opens this morning and it churns around and it stays above the overnight low, that to me would be extremely bullish, again, for continuation higher. Market opens in 2 minutes. So all in all, things are really bullish. It's just something to keep in mind that when you create this much excess, you need to balance it off. So a rotational day today, let's say the market were to just kind of rotate around today and go nowhere, could set us up for a liquidation break to the downside to find support somewhere and then return back up. So we really want to just keep that in mind, that this market needs to balance off all this excess. Doesn't mean it can't just trend higher all day. It can, but the odds are lower. Good morning, MK and Mediterra. Good to see you guys. Marco, good morning to you. Arcaleon, good morning. Daniel is here. Good to see you. Espaco, good morning. Shubaho Deep, good to see you as well. Tom is here. Good morning. JL99, good to see you. Kim is back with us. Chubaho Deep. Well, I don't know how wise those words are, but certainly exciting times in the market. Okay, so the advancers versus decliners still pegged at that higher level from yesterday. Ticks obviously opening bullish. Looking to see when they pull back down, do they stay above that 0 line on the internals? All right, and we got some chop. So what will be important to watch this morning in this chop is where does the market find support? Like I said, to me, this area right around the overnight low, which was also our closing price for yesterday, if this acts as support, that is good for continuation higher. If it breaks, we're looking to need to repair some of these single prints that we left behind from yesterday. Good morning, John. Good to see you. 47 people watching, 12 likes. Please smash that thumbs up button, guys. It's a huge help to me. If you do it first thing in the morning when you get here, it just tells that YouTube algorithm they should send more people my way. Got to get these numbers up. These are rookie numbers. Jose, good morning to you. Welcome. Good morning, Donkey and Ronald. Good to see you guys as well. Okay, it's worth noting at the high here we have bad taper, so that increases the odds. At some point today, the market will need to trade up there to do a little more two-sided trade. Also got these two weak references, and the all-time high created in the overnight is considered weak as well. But first, the market has to find support. It has to bring in the buyers. So we're going to get chop until we find it. Once again, guys, please smash that thumbs up. It's a huge help. We got 28 likes, 53 people watching. There's 20 of you out there. Come on, show me some love. Really helps that algorithm. Trying to get my numbers back up here. Thank you so much. Jitten, where is the old balance area high? Well, it's a little bit tricky at this point. Because we had this insane move higher to new all-time highs, we don't really have a good balancing area. It's a little bit tricky to read it, right? Let me see how much I can zoom out here. So essentially we had a balancing area down here. Doop, doop, doop. Actually, I think this will be easier to do on the daily candles, probably. Let's go look at those. Just be a little bit less messy. Okay, so we had this balancing area here that we were stuck in for quite a long time. And then we had that very difficult breakout over those couple of days. And then boom, we got our proper breakout of balance. And what should have happened is when the market pulled back down, it should have found support. But it traded literally right through the balancing area, coming down to here, getting below it, which was bearish, and then instantly V-shaped back right up through it, back through the breakout completely to a new high. So we just really don't have a new balancing area yet, which is why I think with all this excess from this V-shape, we will need to do some balancing to create a new balancing area above the previous one. So we just got to wait and see. It's a little too early in the morning to make a guess for that, but excess leads to balance. All right, still got that chop going on this morning. Let's jump over and take a look at the Qs. Okay, once again, basically very, very similar to the ES. Same idea. Their overnight inventory is net long. It's slightly more bullish today as we're spending a little more time and volume at yesterday's high, which is a sign of that being support. So a little bit more bullish than the ES, but a very similar scenario this morning. I would pretty much look at it exactly the same way as I mentioned with the ES. If they find support above the overnight low, that is buyable for continuation higher. That support breaking will lead to needing to repair some of these single prints left behind yesterday, of which there's a lot more on the NQ than the ES. Okay, back to the ES. Okay, so here's the first sign on the ticks of buyers stepping in above that zero line, which is bullish to see. Okay, advancers versus decliners still pegged up at higher prices. That is a buy every dip signal. And so far this morning, the breadth is also starting to trend higher, which is bullish. So we're still in the range of chop here, but let's see. What I'm looking for now is for the market to push above yesterday's high at 85.75. Okay, and then come back in and find some support. Pretty much anywhere above the opening price or even in this node right here. You've got volume. You've got the prominent POC and closing price of the overnight. And then you got the volume over here as well. So if we can get above yesterday's high and then come back in and find support in here, that would be bullish for continuation to the upside. Trading Donkey, no, not as a day trader. So his question was, would I see that overnight high, which obviously every overnight high ever in the history of the world has always been repaired. So would I just go long? And no, because if we got a look above and fail of yesterday's high, it could cause us to sell off all the way back down here to fill the gap that we left behind for yesterday. And so that's just too much risk for me to take. So sort of the way I look at it is like, who cares about getting long right here at the open? When instead I could wait to see us get above yesterday's range, come back down and find support, and then I get long here. And it's just a much less risky trade, right? Because I've now taken away the risk of that look above and fail. So yeah, for me, I'll give up this little tiny bit of extra profit to be patient and wait for the entry there. That's just how I look at it. Tom, I don't do specific entries because I don't trade that way myself, right? I don't go like, if it gets to 85, I go long. I don't. That's just not how I trade. I trade off of feeling. So as I've mentioned a bunch of times today, I think if it can get above yesterday's high, right, which it has not yet done, if it can get above yesterday's high, when it comes back down, wherever I think it's finding support, I'll buy it. If it feels like it's getting support right there, I'd buy it there. If it feels like it's getting support right here, I'd buy it here. If it's here, I'd buy it here. If it's here, I'd buy it here. And only if it got below this area would I exit those trades, right? But I'm not going to get into anything until I know what the market is doing. Right now, I have no clue what the market is doing. It's just chopping, right? We've gotten some indications that it could be bullish, right? In the fact that we're staying above the zero line and the advancers are staying pegged and the breadth is trending up. We've got some signals that it wants to go up today, but we don't have any certainty in that, right? It could just as easily continue to push lower here. So I just want to get that signal to myself that it's a good, strong market and we don't need to balance off that excess just yet. To me, that requires getting above yesterday's high and then pulling back down and finding support. And if for some random reason it pushes above yesterday's high and like a rocket ship goes straight up to the overnight and just keeps going, I'm fine with missing that trade. I'll get the signal when the B period prints and we start one time framing. I'll see what's going on then and I'll look for a trade later. But I just don't want to hop into a trade while the market is chopping up and down and it doesn't know what it's going to do just yet. Okay. A lot of success in trading is patience. You have to be okay with waiting for the right opportunity and giving up on little tiny bits of gain here and there to have those higher confidence, entries. One of my favorite songs. Okay, I love that song. And I'm feeling good. Doo doo. Doo doo. Doo doo. Yeah, I saw something this morning about how a couple hedge funds stepped in yesterday and massively bought up all those Chinese tech stocks. So, you know what that causes? Momentum. When the big players start buying. Yeah. Okay, so as I was saying, sorry, I didn't realize my mic was off. Uh, Staying above that zero line means there's more buyers than sellers in the market, but we are starting to downtrend on the ticks, so that's something to keep in mind. We've got a poor high now. Okay, we often get a push away from a poor high. If we were to immediately go back and repair it, that would be another bullish signal, as it would both be the bullish signal for the repair of the poor high and the beginning of one time framing higher. So as we pull back down into this area, like I said, that should be acting as support. We'll go back and look at the ticks and see, are the buyers stepping in? No, they're not. Okay, ticks are trending down, so less and less people are buying now. More and more sellers are piling on. Mizu. If you tip me in the tip jar and you specifically say no more singing, I'll do it. I'll give you a day off. But that makes me feel like I should just start singing the whole time until I get them tips. Okay, another poor high. I assume we've pushed our ticks back up above the zero. We have. So the buyers are stepping in here. They stepped in at exactly the area we would expect them to. They're about to get strong enough to break this poor high. That is bullish. It also begins the one-time framing higher. Value starting to be overlapping to higher. That's another bullish signal. So far, staying above overnight high, overnight low, bullish. We did that. We just need one more tick to the upside to be one time framing higher. That will be bullish. Value overlapping to higher will be bullish. Finding support in this area where we expected to find support would be bullish. So now we just need to break this downtrend in the ticks, and we've got nothing but bullish signals. Can we do it? Oh man, I can't see when you guys tip right now because I've got only one monitor here. I mean, there you go, $5. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Well, I can't now, Douglas. He just tipped me so I wouldn't. Next time. Next time. All right. Well, the advancers versus decliners are starting to fall off here. Losing that pegged state that we've been in since yesterday. Ticks obviously still trending down and starting to creep below the zero line. So can this support hold? We did not start one time framing higher, and we have a poor high. Was there no ads today? Oh man, I must have forgot to monetize today. Bummer. Not that it really matters. You know how much I made off of monetization every day this week? Like $1.50. So, no big loss. Enjoy your free stream today. Well, no, we just are not one-time framing. To officially start one-time framing, we have to get 2 ticks above the A period high. So we haven't quite done that. So right now this is still considered like an inside bar. And, excuse me, and we have a poor high. So it's normal when you create a poor high to get a push away from the poor high that looks for another round of support. And that's what just happened there. But it looks like the buyers are stepping in. So let's give them a chance to get back above that 0 line. Start trending higher here. It's still just chop. It's still just uncertainty. But there's definitely more bullish than bearish signals. Pavel, good morning to you. Welcome. Bitcoin 46.62. I don't know what that means. Is that where the price is at right now? Oh, just had a bit of a pullback. Yeah, that's okay. I generally just look at the daily and see is it making higher lows. As long as it keeps making higher lows, it'll keep going higher. No worries. Okay, the ticks are pushing. You can do it. Let's jump over and take a quick look at the NQ. There you go. NQ one-time framing higher. So that's very bullish. You got value overlapping to higher. You got real strong support right around the halfback of the overnight. So yeah, NQ looking very bullish here for continuation. Spending this much time building up the momentum, the buyers here, means on the breakout, we may not need to come all the way back down into here to find that support. We may find it right at or just above yesterday's high. So it might push up, come back down, and then find support in here, which would be a good long trade. Also, you would assume, all this grinding that's happening here, there are shorts, right, that are piling up here. If they're shorting right here, where are they probably putting their stops? Right above here, right? They're trying to take a very low risk short. So if we can get above yesterday's high, we should get a little pump. A little rally real quick. At this point, it's also safe to use the 2 ticks below the B period, the current B period low, as a stop. Because for the market to get back down there, it would have to work its way through the support we just built in this area with all the buying that took place there. You've also got the prominent POC from the overnight and the upper end of the balance here, all the way down to that POC. So all of this should act as support now that we've made a new high. So putting your stop just below it there is a good safe place to go. Okay, well, if it gets through all this, then it's going to rotate down. For those of you that are new to trading, just so you know, the way I always think about stops is is not like how far are they from my entry, but rather how likely are they to break. And like what level, if the market traded to it, would that mean my story, which right now my story is that the market wants to trend higher, that it's bullish, where would my story be wrong? So in my mind at this point, getting a couple ticks below where the current B period low is, even during the B period, would be bearish for, rotation to the downside. So that's where I'd put it. And then I just choose my position sizing for how big of a trade I'm willing to take based on how much risk I'm at if I put my stop at this level. Yeah, so what I mean by that is, so like let's say I was going to go long right now where we currently are. So that's at, let's say 86.50, right? And my stop's down here at 81, well, let's call it 80.50 just to keep it simple. So then that's $6 difference, right? So on a regular E-mini, each dollar is $50 of risk. So if I was going to go long right here with my stop down here, and there's $6 difference between them on the chart, that means I'm risking $300. So one mini equals $300 of risk. So if I'm willing to risk 600, I'd go for 2 contracts. If I'm willing to risk 900, I'd go for 3 contracts. And that's, of course, based on the size of my portfolio and how much I'm willing to risk. I don't ever want to risk more than a few percentage points of my portfolio. So to risk, 300, I would need to have at least 3,000 or more in the account. Otherwise, you'd want to use minis, which are much smaller. Micros, which are much smaller. Yeah, you're probably right, Donkey. 30,000 is a much safer bet there. Yeah, the way I trade, I take bigger risk than 1%, but yeah, I hear you. That's the safest way, especially for new people. No, RK, because I've just learned from experience. If I enter every trade with 4 to 6 ticks, I'm going to get stopped out all the time, and I'm going to give more money to the market. So you got to put your stop where your trade is wrong. And so the way you choose that is you figure out where's my entry, where's my stop, and then you choose how much risk to take based on that, right? The trade idea is what matters. Is the market going to continue to trend higher, or are we going to have a look above and fail, right? It's that's sort of the general trade idea. But then again, this is one of these things why I hate getting into specifics of talking about trade by trade. If I'd have gotten into this trade right now, I'd probably move my stop up to here because I just am feeling like this isn't a breakout. You know, we didn't really get any pop. We didn't get any short squeeze there. And we're just trying to grind higher. So like now, from when I entered the trade 2 minutes ago to now, my whole philosophy has changed. The tempo has changed. So I'm changing my position. So that's why it's really hard for me to talk about trades and trade entries and styles, because I literally change my opinion of a trade in a matter of seconds constantly. But yeah, at that first point of entry, which was, remember, I said getting above yesterday's high and then pulling down and finding support, at this entry, the best stop is down here because the market could chop back into here and then continue to break higher, right? So I'm just giving money to the market for free if I put my stop anywhere in here. But I know if it gets below all of this, well, then it's definitely going lower, right? So that's the place to put my stop. And if this is too much risk for you, this many ticks, well, then just do one MES contract, right? Just take a much smaller size trade, but still keep your stop in a place where the trade goes wrong, basically. Nope. So this particular trade would be a trending trade. So the stop for me, or like the take profit for me, would be when we have cessation of one time framing to the upside. You could target the all-time high if you wanted to, but also the cessation of one time framing. Mizu, is yesterday's poor or weak high been repaired? There wasn't a poor high yesterday. There was a good high, but there were a couple weak references up here, and yes, of course, they've been repaired. No, obviously the gap has not been filled. JT, yeah, and the internals, the market profile and the internals. Okay, so we're starting to build volume. We're getting some pink candles above yesterday's high. So we ask ourselves, what is this volume? Is it people going long or short? And we see the ticks are still above that zero line. So it is more people going long than short, which is bullish to see. Okay, so at this point, I would be moving my stop up to, actually that's a little too far, up to about 83.75. Okay, this area here, just because we're not getting that momentum. We're not getting that excitement, that enthusiasm. And the ticks are starting to show us that they're maintaining this downtrend, lower highs. Okay. So if we can't hold this level right here around yesterday's high, this could become a look above and fail. So take a little bit of that risk off the table and move up that stop just in case. Okay, so creating another poor high and these single prints. So you get to push away from the poor high to repair those single prints, but we should find support right around the base of those single prints. Let's jump over and take a look at the NQ. Same exact story, trending higher. Got some single prints left behind in the B period, increasing the odds that they need to be backfilled. And we have a poor high that we just created. So getting no push away from the poor high and immediately repairing it would be bullish for continuation to the upside. But keep in mind these B period single prints need backfilling. What's my setup on the NQ? Do you mean where would I go long if I was going to take a long trade? Base of the single prints right there. Stop below the halfback. Got a low volume node here too, though. That might need to backfill a little bit. All right, guys. Well, with that, I'm going to bid you farewell. Adieu. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. If you're not a member of the Brigade, there's a link in the description. You can join for just $10 a month, and then you get to watch the stream for the full trading day. One TPO represent how many ticks? TPOs represent time. It stands for time price opportunity. So each letter that you see represents 30 minutes. All right, guys. I wish you all the best. And if you're a member of the Brigade, give me about 5 minutes, and then that stream should be up and running. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.